Okay.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
There he is.
There he is. We got him. We got him. My name is Jane Stevenson, and I've done this event with Bruce in 2014 in Dublin when he was over live. I'm afraid that now we have to do the Zoom thing, but it works quite well because he's in New Zealand, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
And it's summertime.
And it's summertime. And I've been trying to get Bruce to come back to Dublin for a long time, but we can now do it through Zoom, which is terrific.
Brilliant.
But it's not the same as being there, because I enjoy the humor in this country, and I enjoy all the people, and even my experience in the pubs.
Yes.
Well, we'll try and get as much of that across as we can tonight. We'll get some jokes going. Maybe somebody will raise a pint to you as well, Bruce. We'll see what happens.
We miss the pubs. We miss the bars being open over here, as you can imagine. So just a little bit of an introduction. I think most people who are present here tonight know Bruce and are familiar with his work. His book was The Biology of Belief. I have a copy of it here, but it's been updated many times since 2014, I believe, since I first got it then. And basically Bruce is a scientist and a philosopher, and he's an internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit. So scientists might be a bit skeptical of him, but he's got a wonderful...
Let's talk about it later, because I was a scientist who was never spiritual, not by any sense of science, but when I studied the cells and the cells revealed it to me, it changed my entire life, because there's a mechanism of how it works.
Yes, and I think that's what it's wonderful, and it's very inspirational. You are the recipient of the 2009 Goy Peace Award, and you've been a guest speaker on hundreds of TV and radio shows, keynote presenter for national and international conferences. And I know that since we last spoke in 2014, you've gone absolutely stratospheric in your reputation. I think that's the word. So Paul of Positive Life and I are both co-hosting this, and we will ask questions after Bruce has done a brief presentation, Epigenetics and the biology of belief, and then we'll open it up to everybody else. So over to you, Bruce. And Paul, I don't know if you want to say a word or two.
Just a quick thing, folks, as well. We're going to keep everybody on mute because that's just way more efficient. So type your questions into the chat box, and the plan is that we'll get to you guys after about 50 minutes, I think, and then you have about a half an hour to fire your questions at Bruce. So do type them into the chat box. That's all, Jane. And you're all very welcome. We're delighted to have Bruce Lipton in the house.
I am delighted to be here, and so appreciate all of you for showing up, because this is a really interesting time, as you're quite aware. The world seems to be going upside down. There's a lot of chaos all over the place. What's so interesting from a biological point of view is we are exactly in the right place we have to be right now. For a simple reason, just give you an insight, is that in the history of this planet, there have been 5 what are called mass extinctions. And that means that life was thriving, and then something happened, and up to 90% of life got wiped out 5 times, and then it started all over again. The last one of these extinctions was 66 million years ago, when the dinosaurs were here. And a comet hit near Mexico, a giant comet, and it upended the whole web of life. Dinosaurs disappeared, the lush tropical jungles and forests all disappeared, and we started all over again. Today, science has recognized as a fact, as a fact now, science has recognized that we are now in the 6th mass extinction. And I go, well, they recognize this from a simple fact, is that the planet is losing species of organisms faster than in previous mass extinctions. And so the source of the problem, science, has recognized human behavior is destroying the environment which provides for humans at all. And if the environment collapses, of course, then humans can't be here. So the idea that we're somehow separate from the environment is, well, no, we are an expression of the environment, and we've undermined it with pollution and, you know, taking the resources out of the planet and destroying environments. So humans are creating a mass extinction. Significance is this: how do you stop this? And the answer is human behavior has to profoundly change. The way we're living on this planet and have been living on this planet has been self-destructive. We're just, as I said, upending the entire web of life. So we have to build a new way of living on this planet. And this is where the problem comes from, because the problem is the way we have been living on this planet, the foundation of human culture and civilization, that has to profoundly change, because that's where the problem is. So the point is simple: you cannot build a sustainable world on the foundation we've been running, because that's the cause of the problem. So guess what? You have to take down the old one and build up a new one. A very simple analogy, and it's perfect, is how a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. A caterpillar is a most voracious organism. Put it on a plant, it'll eat all the leaves off of the plant. But there's a point where the caterpillar stops growing and then puts itself into a cocoon, and inside that cocoon's transformation, and then at some point out comes a butterfly, the lightest touch organism compared to the caterpillar, the most voracious organism. And I say, well, let's give the analogy a little substance here. And I say, all living organisms such as humans and caterpillars are made out of cells. The cells are the living entity. The organism by definition is a community. So when you see yourself in a mirror, you say, oh, here's Bruce, a living organism. I go, no, Bruce is a community of 50 trillion cells. The cells are the living entity. Bruce is a community of those, but so is Jane a community, and so is Paul a community, and so is Anne-Marie out there, part of a community of 50 trillion cells. And so I go to caterpillar. Let's go back to the story. Billions and billions of cells in the caterpillar. They're like miniature people. They all have jobs. Some are doing digestion, some are moving the caterpillar around, some are part of the nervous system, some are part of the circulatory system. They're doing jobs. And as long as the caterpillar is growing, everybody's growing, the jobs are happening, everybody's happy, robust civilization, economics, everything's great. But when it stops moving and gets ready to go into the cocoon, there's no more jobs. But guess what? There's no more digestion. And the muscle cells that are doing the moving, there's no more moving, and the thing is coming apart. And I go, why is it relevant? It's, well, they're all out of work. I go, that now what? I said, there's a soup of these cells that used to be working with the caterpillar, and now they're out of work. And I say, within that community, they're what are called imaginal cells, with great name, imaginal cells. They're the ones with a vision of a butterfly. And they're the ones that coordinate the activity of the masses of cells to retrain them, put them into another position to make a butterfly. So I go, so why is it relevant? Human civilization has been a voracious caterpillar. That's where the problem comes from. We've destroyed the environment so much that we're in a sense being forced by the planet. Stop, you can't do this anymore. Jobs are going away, people are losing things, just like in a caterpillar. And I said, then what's happening? I said, well, there's all these people, it's chaos. And then I go, then what? And I said, new vision, a new vision of how to move from where we are into a future, a sustainable, thrivable future. We have to create the butterfly version of our civilization. So we are in the cocoon. And the most important conclusion about that is you could look at the one coming down, the caterpillar business, and go, oh, my world is falling apart. And I go, that would be very scary. But you could also look at the other way. You can look at oh, we're building something new, and start to participate in the building of something new, because fear is the greatest problem that humans have in regard to maintaining their livelihood and their health. The one that's coming down has to come down. So if you're holding on to the caterpillar version, it's like, no, I'm sorry, this doesn't work anymore. Let go and start to recognize, no, there's a very positive outcome for the chaos that you're experiencing at this time, because the positive outcome is the foundation of creating a sustainable, thrivable future. And so you have a choice. Hold on to the old one coming down, fear, anguish, anxiety. Let go by saying, oh, I know it's coming down, because the purpose is, let's put our effort into the one coming up. And that's where health and vitality is going to be found. So we need to know a couple of things that are important to move from the place where we are right now into that future. And two important things that I'm going to talk about here today is, number one is biologically, who are we? There's a tendency to focus that we are this physical body and all that, but there's more to it than that. There's what we call an energy field in quantum physics. We are the energy field, and we're inside a virtual reality suit, and it's a creative device. This is where we came to create. And the relevance, then, we need to know, there's more to us than a physical body. There's an energy field in quantum physics, which has the same definition as spirituality. So quantum physics is revealing that it's the energy who we really are. But secondly, and the one I'll start with, is basically we have been led to believe that we are victims of our genetics. Yeah, oh, cancer gene's going to give me cancer, heart disease genes, I'm going to get heart disease or Alzheimer's. Everybody's looking for.
You've gone mute. Hang on a second. You've gone mute, Bruce.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's okay now. Yeah. Okay. No, you've gone again.
I don't know why. Hold up your hand if you can hear me, Jane.
I can hear you now, but you're fading.
Oh, no, I'm not.
keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay, let's just perceive that it's going to work right now.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we have to recognize this. Genes do not control your life. You control your genes. And I'll get into that right away. My plan is to show some slides to set us up on a foundation that we can then have a discussion from about who we really are and how powerful we are in creating this life. So to do this, I want to share the screen, and I'm going to show some slides, and then we'll come back on again. So let's start with this first slide. This is a fact. This is a fact, and here it is. Quantum physics is the most valid science on planet Earth. There is no science with more factual truth than quantum physics of all the sciences. And I go, so why is it relevant? And here's why it's relevant. Quantum physics said that the world that we've been looking at, that's made out of matter, physical things, and invisible energy, that's an illusion. I know it's going to be hard to believe, but unfortunately, this is the fact for 100 years, that everything is energy. There's no such thing as matter. And you say, what do you mean? I go, well, when they started to take the atom apart, and first they found the little solar system, with the nucleus inside, and then the electrons running around like satellites. And they say, oh, it's small particles. But as they started to look inside and say, what are those small particles made out of? Neutrons, protons, electrons. They took them apart, and guess what? There was nothing material inside. They're energy vortices. They're the equivalent of cyclones or tornadoes of energy. So an atom isn't even made out of matter. It's made out of energy, and so are we. So the relevance about this is that quantum physics recognized a fundamental truth since its founding in 1927. And in that 1927, Max Planck, one of the founders of quantum physics, all matter originates, exists only by virtue of a force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious, intelligent mind. Now, here's the sentence that's so critical. The mind is the matrix of all matter. What does that mean? Quantum physics starts off and says that consciousness is creating this. As we change consciousness, we change this. And all of a sudden, it's like, we used to think we're just passive individuals walking through a world. It's like, no, we are creating this world through our consciousness. A fact of quantum physics, the most valid science on the planet. And I go, so why is it relevant? I said, well, it basically says that we live in an immaterial universe. And now that was Max Planck's story, 1927. This is out of the journal Nature. And Nature is the most prestigious scientific journal on planet Earth. This is the most major scientific journal, Nature. And I go, there was an article called The Mental Universe by a physicist, a quantum physicist from Johns Hopkins University in the States. And I say, well, what's this article conclude with? That's the beautiful part, because I'm going to actually now show you, this is the actual photograph of the last paragraph in the article. And what does it read? The universe is immaterial. It's mental and spiritual. Live and enjoy. I go, what? This is the prime scientific journal, Nature. And the conclusion is what? This is an immaterial, non-physical universe, but it's based on what? Our mental character and our spirituality. And all of a sudden I go, oh my God, that used to be like that, you know, the funny stuff people talk about, metaphysics. And the fact is, no, this is not metaphysics. This is physics. And it basically says that we are creating this with our consciousness. So this becomes important because then consciousness is creating our life experiences. And this is from Einstein, okay? And I go, so why is it relevant? Because the answer is this. So how's that working for us? You are creating this world. Are you creating the one you love, wish, desire, and love to have? Or is the world seeming like it's creating stuff and you're a victim in this world? And the issue is, my God, we are the creators of everything that's being experienced. And I go, why is it relevant? Because we didn't know from our learning, our experience, our current knowledge, that we were even involved other than being victims of what's happening. And it turns out, no, we are manifesting what's happening. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to say, I'm going to show you the biological point of view of this because I saw this 50 years ago. And I was at that time teaching about biology to medical students. And we were talking about the fact of the DNA double helix when they founded that in 1953, and everyone goes, oh my God, the secret of life, the genes are the secret of life. And we got this idea from Jim Watson, Francis Crick. In this Me Too generation, I've got to make this correction. The double helix structure wasn't founded by those two guys. It was founded by a woman. Her name is Rosalind Franklin. Nobody even knows who she is because the old boys scientific club took her research, then took it for themselves, reported on it, and she didn't get any credit at all. But the actual founding of DNA was from a woman, Rosalind Franklin. I want to honor that for her. So I say, so what do we understand about this DNA? Well, number one, we are told that genes control life. I go, yes, that's what genes control this and genes control that. We've been told that, okay? We're also recognizing this, as far as we know, we didn't pick the genes that we came with. But then we look at the character of our life and we say, but maybe I want to change the traits. And I go, well, you can't change the genes. And all of a sudden they say, oh my goodness, I didn't pick them and they determine what I am. I can't change them. And then lastly, and most importantly, we are programmed to believe that genes turn on and off by themselves. And I go, well, what the heck does that mean? I say, well, some people believe then they have a cancer gene and they're walking down the street and all of a sudden the gene said, okay, time for cancer. And then they got cancer. It's like the genes did this to me. And then we are perceiving victim. That is the whole story of what we were teaching. You're a victim. Your heredity controls your life. You have no power over this. And if you got bad genes and history in your family, then you're going to get the same kind of things as well because you've got the genes. So conventional belief system, you're a victim of your heredity. And that whatever it is, your life is already pre-programmed at the moment you were created in the fertilization process where the genes of your mother and the father's genes came together and created you. Well, that's what I was teaching. But in the laboratory, I was working on stem cells, and this is over 50 years ago. When I was working on stem cells, there were only a handful of people in the whole world even knew what a stem cell was. And I go, well, what's a stem cell? Well, I just mentioned before that your body is made out of 50 trillion cells. Those are the living entities. Now, a very important fact, every day you lose hundreds of billions of your cells die every day. Just every minute, you lose, I forgot, over 3 or 4 million blood cells. Just boom, just like that, 3 or 4 million every minute, gone, gone. I go, so every day we lose hundreds of billions of cells. And I go, well, then how can you stay alive? And the answer is this. Built into your population of cells are what are called stem cells, which are another word for embryonic cell. Do you have stem cells? Well, the answer is, if you're watching this program, the answer, of course you do. Because if you didn't have stem cells, you wouldn't live very long, because every day after losing hundreds of billions, there'd be a point where, gone, but you're still here. So I go, yes, stem cells are embryonic cells in your body. Their function is to replace the dying dead cells that happen every day. So I say, well, it's an embryonic cell. And I say, so I was cloning them. I said, what does it mean? I say, you put one cell in a petri dish by itself. It divides every 10 or 12 hours. So first it's 1, 2, 4, 8, doubling, 16, 32, doubling. And after a week, I've got 30,000 cells in the petri dish. The most important part of this experiment is 30,000 cells are genetically identical because they came from the same parent. So I have 30,000 genetically identical cells. I split them into 3 petri dishes. So all the dishes have genetically identical cells in them. But I change the combination that we call culture medium, which we're going to get into. I say, why is culture medium? Culture medium is a laboratory version of blood. So if I grow human cells, I make culture medium based on what's in human blood. If I'm growing mouse cells, I look at mouse blood and say, I'm going to make a version in the lab to do that. So I create culture medium, the equivalent of human blood, but since I'm doing it in the lab, I can change the chemistry a little bit. So I create 3 different versions of culture medium. That's the environment that the cells live in, the fluid. And I go, okay, I have 3 different versions. I say, so what? So I feed one dish, one version, environment A. Oh, the cells in that dish form muscle. And I say, oh, the second dish, I use a different environment, different culture medium, and the cells form bone. And in the third dish, yet again, different culture medium. And in this case, the cells form fat cells. And it's like, wait a minute, they were all genetically identical. What is it that controlled the fate of the cells? And the answer was not the genes. They all had the same genes. It was the environment that the cells were growing in, that you change the environment and you change the genetic activity of the cells. Well, I was doing this in 1967. By 1990, this is the new science that you probably don't know much about, but it is profoundly important. It's called epigenetics. You go, what does that mean? Epi means above, like skin is called epidermis because it's above a layer called the dermis, so it's above. And so I say, old story, this trait is under genetic control, controlled by genes. Now, new story, 100% different story. This trait is under epigenetic control. I go, it sounds the same. I go, no, epi means above. So when I say this is under genetic control, I'm saying the genes control the trait. But when I say this is under epigenetic control, it means control epi above the genes. Epigenetic control, control above the genes. I go, what's above the genes? Well, the environment. And so the foundation of genetics changes. My genes are not controlled by themselves. They don't turn on and off by themselves. They're controlled by the environment in which I'm living. And then comes the more important part, which we'll get into in a second, but this is the whole important part of this is genes are blueprints. That's what they are to make the building blocks of the body, which are called proteins. So your body, when you look in the mirror, this body is made out of proteins. Yeah, there's 100,000 different proteins. And I go, wow. And I go, so what? And I say, the genes are the blueprints. And you go, so what? And I go, that you just missed is, it's a blueprint. I go, so why is it relevant? I said, go into an architect's office. She's working on a blueprint and ask her, is your blueprint on or off? And she'll look at you and like, what are you, crazy? It's a blueprint. There's no on and off. Exactly. Genes do not control their own behavior. Genes are blueprints. There's an architect that controls those blueprints. And I go, what's that? The mind, consciousness is controlling your genetics. You go, what do you mean? Well, let's move to a different story. I got cells in a plastic dish, which we just talked about. I put growth medium in there, which is my laboratory version of blood. And I say the growth medium is controlling the fate of the cells. But what's really interesting is this. As I mentioned, you are not a single entity. You're a community of 50 trillion cells. You are a skin-covered petri dish. Yes, underneath the skin, 50 trillion cells. And yeah, they have culture medium. I go, oh, guess what? Not just culture medium, they have the original culture medium, blood. I go, so why is that relevant? Well, blood provides nutrition. Yeah. A very key fact at this moment, and most people better start paying attention to this, is because the industrial agriculture that we live on this planet, the alteration of our agriculture by chemicals and sprays and all that, has taken the nutrition out of the food. It's actually pretty bad, most of it. So one of the things is this: when you eat food, you're making culture medium, and you do not want to compromise that, because if I compromise in making the culture medium in the lab, I change something, the cells could die right away, because they live off of this. So why is it relevant? Eat well, eat organic, eat natural, because that was what we created our original blood from, not the chemistry food that we're eating. Okay, number one. But blood also has more than just food. It has new signals. Yeah, there are hormones in here. There are emotional chemicals in here. There are factors that control our biology, our behavior, our physiology. So blood is nutrition and information. And I go, so why is that relevant? I say, where's this information coming from that controls the blood? And the answer is this. We're getting to this really important point, and here it is. Yes, the cells are responding to the environment, fact. But the cells under your skin do not see the environment. They're under the skin. How does my liver know what's going on outside? How does it know how to adjust itself to live in the environment if the environment's changing outside? How does the liver know? And the answer is, the brain is picking up this information. And that's perception. Is it cold out? Is it warm out? Why? It changes your biology as soon as you pick that information up. And then what does the brain do? It sends signals, and these are like the hormones and the emotional chemicals and all that, into the culture medium, the blood. And then that blood with the signals is the culture medium for your cells in your skin-covered dish. And now what do we know? It's the signals that control the genetics. And I say, yeah, but they come from the nervous system, but that's the environment. I go, okay, great. The brain is relaying environment to the inside so that the cells inside could live in harmony with the environment outside. But I left something out of the picture, and that is this. The brain perceives what's going on outside, but the mind does interpretation. I go, what does that mean? I say, two people can be in the exact same environment, have the exact same stimulus of the information coming in, and have two different perceptions of how that world looks to them. One could think, oh, this is the most beautiful place I've ever been. The other one could be, this is scary. I go, well, they're both reading the environment. I say, what's the difference between them? Both read the environmental signals, but each has a mind that interprets those signals. Each of us is reading the environment, but reading it through experiences, interpretations of how we see the world, okay? So I say, so why is it relevant? It's actually the perception as interpreted by your mind that sends the signals to control your genetics. Epigenetics. What's the highest thing in control? Mind. And I go, well, what do you know? That's exactly what the physicist said. Consciousness, mentality is controlling your experience. I'm going in biology. The mind is controlling the chemical composition of the blood. And that's the culture medium. And in the laboratory experiments, the culture medium controls the fate of the cells. So your mind is controlling this. And I say, this is where belief comes in, because two people can be looking at the exact same environment and have different interpretations. One believes it's this way, one believes it's this way, and each has a different response. What? Based on belief. It's just what signals you're sending to your cells based on what you believe. You change your belief, you change the chemistry. So I say, here's how it works, very simple. The brain is the chemist, it's making the blood. And in my cartoon, the brain has a flask with the blood culture medium in it. And it's got a pipette and it's feeding the cells in a skin covered Petri dish, the culture medium. And I say, so how's it work? This is how simple it is. If you open your eyes and you see someone you love, the mind goes, oh, love. And the chemistry that comes from love and interpretation includes dopamine for pleasure, oxytocin to bond you with your loved one, vasopressin makes you more attractive to keep your lover there, and growth hormone, which does exactly what it says it does. When you fall in love, you're healthy, you're vital. Oh my God, why? The culture medium not only contains nutrition, now it contains this information, which is what? The translation of love into chemistry. And so when you're in love, your culture medium is vibrant and vital. And that's why people who are in love, they glow. Why? It's the culture medium that's giving them that vitality. Now, in contrast, open your eyes, see something that scares you, you're going to put in a completely different culture medium into biology. The blood has completely different chemistry when it comes to information if you're living in fear than if you're living in love. Stress hormones are released and factors that control the immune system. In fact, fear chemistry shuts off the immune system. The more you're afraid, the less your immune system is functioning. And there's a reason for it. It's not to punish you. The immune system uses a lot of energy. Yep, if you've ever been sick, you can't get out of bed sometimes. It uses so much energy. And I go, so what? I go, if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, and let's say you have bacterial infection, where do you want to put the energy? Into running away from the tiger or for curing the bacteria? I go, the heck with the bacteria. If the lion or tiger catches you, the bacteria, that's not a problem anymore. So guess what? Stress hormones shut off the immune system because it uses too much energy when you're in a state of fear where you need to run. And as a result, you suppress the immune system to give more energy to run. And that's a consequence of putting in fear. So I go, so why is it relevant? I say, well, then let's understand the bottom line. There's only a couple more slides. We'll be right out of this. What is the function of the mind? I said, that's the chemist. I go, so what does it do? Well, the function of the mind is to take your perceptions, which are your beliefs, and then create a chemical composition that represents that belief. There's different chemicals for love than there are chemicals for fear. So whatever the picture is, the mind's function is to translate the picture into chemistry that is complementary or coherent with your perceptions and your beliefs. And so all of a sudden I say, yeah, then I say, so why is it relevant? It's what pictures are in your mind that are controlling your genetics and the life you're experiencing. And this is not a new idea. The Buddha for 2,500 years said the exact same fact. What we think, we become. It says, yeah, your thoughts are not just passing through, they're changing the chemistry. And the chemistry is the chemistry of the culture medium, the blood. And so all of a sudden, you start to see that what you are thinking is creating a chemical complement to your thoughts. Are you thinking love or are you thinking fear? You have two different outcomes from those. And then lastly, let's see what we have. Oh, for years I was saying that since I published the book in 2005. And conventional people go, well, that's just a new age kind of stuff. I just want to show you, this is an article from an epigenetic research scientist, University of California, Los Angeles School of Medicine. And this is current. I go, so what does it mean? Well, he was studying about genetics and poverty and all that, but he comes to this conclusion, and this is so important. This is front edge, modern, conventional science. What does he goes? To an extent that immunologists and psychologists rarely appreciate, we are architects of our own experience. Here's the sentence that maybe after since 2005 go, yeah, because he goes on, your subjective experience carries more power than your objective situation. What does that mean? Well, subjective experience, that's belief. This is what I believe. That's subjective. So I put belief. Objective situation is reality. So let's put that in there. Now read the sentence. Your belief carries more power than your reality. And that's exactly what the biology of belief has been all about. And then now all of a sudden, okay, there are 3 slides left, but this is the important part, because I'm talking about the mind is creating the chemistry, which is controlling the genetics and the behavior. I go, the mind, like, oh, there's one mind. I go, that's the failure. There are 2 minds. Conscious mind, which is from the latest evolution of the brain, right behind your forehead, a lobe of brain called prefrontal cortex. And the rest of the brain from there backwards is called the subconscious. Here's the point that people didn't understand. Each mind has a different function, and each mind learns in a different way. And I go, so how does it work? I go, conscious mind is connected to your spirituality, your source, your personal identity. No 2 people have the same conscious mind. The conscious mind is creative, imagination. And with imagination, we can create reality. And that's why humans are different than lower forms. We can envision something and then manifest it. We want to go to the moon? Okay, let's create a rocket. And there we are, we're going to the moon. So I say creative, and I say, so what does it also represent? Your wishes, your desires, your aspirations. Any one of you out there, I say, what do you want from your life? And the answer would be, whatever you come up with came from conscious mind, because that's creative. This is what I would like. This is what I want. This is what I want to be. I say that's coming from conscious mind. It's also positive thinking, and people go, oh, that doesn't work. And I go, well, it does. And to give you the science of positive thinking, it's called placebo effect. That's where the doctor says, I got this drug for your disease. You haven't been able to handle it, but this is the newest, greatest drug. And it's made specifically, and it will handle it. And you take this drug and you get better. You find out the drug was a sugar pill. And then the question is, then what healed you? And the answer was the belief in the sugar pill. That's positive thinking, okay? Now, there's the other part of the brain. It's actually 90% of the brain, and that's called the subconscious. And the subconscious is a machine, just like a recording device, like a video recorder. You see the world, and then whatever you saw can go down and be programmed. So it's a record playback device. The subconscious has programs that you acquired from your life experiences. And you go, so why? And I go, a lot of people think that's where all the evil comes from, subconscious. I go, no, it's a program mechanism. You might have good programs, you might have bad programs. I'll give you a good one. When did you learn how to walk? Before you were 2. Are you still walking 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years later? Yep, good point. Where did you learn how to walk? Where's that program? In the subconscious. You don't have to think about walking. You don't have to say, oh, I'm going to go over there, so I'm going to walk. You want to go over there? Just go over there. Why? The brain will automatically translate into walking. It's got a program. Driving the car, you don't have to think about it after you've been in the car for driving for a long time. You get in the car, you don't think about the details you did on the first day you got in the car, which was like overwhelming. Looking out the windshield, the mirrors, the gauges, the pedals on the floor, all kinds of stuff. Today you get in the car, you put the key and you go. You don't think about it. Automatic. So subconscious is automatic behavior, okay? So it's a habit. Subconscious has habits. Where do you get them from? Some are built-in instincts. Ball comes toward your face, you're going to blink. Habit. Don't have to think about it. But some of them are experiences. Yeah, you learned how to walk. Now that you know how to walk from personal experience of trying it, riding a bike, driving a car, playing an instrument, those are experiences that become habits. And the most important problem comes from this. We also acquire beliefs and habits that we never personally experienced, but we got it through awareness from our parents, studying them, watching how they behave, watching how your siblings behave, watching how the community behaves. That's the video camera subconscious, learning the behavior by watching other people and downloading it. And so these are behaviors you get before age 7. You get them because this is when the subconscious is downloading programs. And I say, how does it download it? By observing other people. So here's the point. Most of the programs in your subconscious did not come from you. They came from observing other people. Number 2, your wishes and desires may not be expressed by all those people you just took the program from. So all of a sudden you realize many of your programs don't support anything that you want, but you got them from other people. I go, so why is this all relevant? And the answer is that basically what we're beginning to recognize is a simple fact. Are you creating, are you creating your life from your conscious wishes and desires? That was the point. Are you creating the life that you really want and have? Or your life doesn't look like what you want, but it's got a lot of stuff going on. I go, here's the problem, and this is all in a nutshell. The conscious mind wishes, desires, aspirations, but it can also think. I say, why is it relevant? Thinking redirects the focus of the conscious mind. When you're looking out at the world, driving the car in the conscious mind, you're observing the world and you're responding. But when you start thinking, guess what? Conscious mind lets go because it answers to thoughts are inside. If I say, tell me what you're doing on Monday, and you don't have it written in front of you right now, you can think about what you did on Monday. But the moment you're thinking, you're not looking out the window, you went inside. And I go, what if I'm driving the car and I have a thought and my conscious mind is now looking inside? I go, don't worry. Subconscious is autopilot. It knows how to drive the car. So when you're thinking, the subconscious takes over. And I say, well, how much of our life is coming from this? As the article said, the secret mind, how your unconscious really shapes your decisions. I go, why? Because if the conscious is thinking, it's not controlling. When the subconscious is in, it's going to play according to whatever program I got. Yeah, but the programs came from other people. And it says here that we are conscious of only about 5%. Another simple fact. Only 5% of the day are you creating life based on wishes and desires and what you want. 5%. I go, then if my conscious mind's only controlling 5%, then who's controlling the rest of my life? 95% coming from the program. You got good programs, don't worry about it. You're automatically creating good behavior. But if you got faulty programs, defective programs, or self-sabotaging or limiting programs in that development from the first 7 years of your life, those are the programs that are controlling your life. And that's the unfortunate part. You are controlling your life with programs it's not even yours. You got them from other people, 95% of the day. And the last thing, it's coming to the end of this so we can get into a discussion. And the last thing is very important because I've been telling a story for 30 plus years in my lectures. I'm going to tell it again right now because it's so profoundly important. It goes like this. You have a friend, you know your friend's behavior very well, and you happen to know your friend's parent. And one day you see your friend has the exact same behavior as the parent, and you got to tell your friend, you go, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. And I say, back away from Bill. The moment you say that, Bill's going to go, I know he's going to go like, how can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. And most people laugh, and I go, that is the most profound story. For what reason? Everybody else can see that Bill behaves like his dad. Who's the one that doesn't see it? Bill. I say, how come? Explain that. I go, easy. He got the program of behavior from his dad in the first 7 years that's when we were downloading behavior by observing others. And I said, when does he play it? He said, well, when he's thinking. Oh, so what does that mean? He said, well, if you're thinking, you're not paying attention to what's going on the outside, you're thinking of what's going on the inside. So whatever behavior is being played when you're thinking, the conscious mind never saw it. And I go, the conscious mind never saw it. I go, so why is it relevant? Bill, he doesn't see his own behavior 95% of the day. And it's his father's behavior. And he's the one that says, I'm not like my dad. And I go, and you're ready for this? People, sit back. Here you go. Get ready. We are all Bill. Every one of us is Bill. Every day we are playing 95% of our behavior and not observing it. And then I go, why is it relevant? The downloaded behavior that we got before age 7 is limiting, self-sabotaging, and disempowering beliefs. And I go, oh, well, that's where the problem comes from, is because as quantum physics says, and now as biology also says, your consciousness is creating your life experiences. Biology, your consciousness is translated into chemistry, goes into the blood, controls your genetics and your behavior. So the science of quantum physics and the science of epigenetics, same conclusion. And this is not a new understanding. And in fact, what we recognize now, simple fact, only 5% of your life is coming from wishes, desires, and aspirations. That's why you have trouble experiencing what you want. 95% of your life is coming from the program. So you're not controlling your life with your conscious mind, you're controlling it with the program mind. Your life is a printout of your programs. If you're not enjoying the healthiest, happiest, most creative life, don't blame the world. It's because unconsciously your subconscious is sabotaging you, just like Bill. Can't see it, all you see is the result. It's not working the way I want. I go, yeah, but you're still creating it. So just recognize this, that the behaviors that we express didn't come from us. They came from other people. And we've been programmed. The movie The Matrix is not science fiction. The movie The Matrix is a documentary. All of us have been programmed. Yeah. And it's not something new. This is from 400 years. The Jesuits have said to their followers, give me a child for the first 7 years and I'll give you the man. I go, what does that mean? Exactly what we just said. The first 7 years is programming, whatever programs come in there, then 95% of the rest of your life is the playing of those programs. So if you give a person the first 7 years to teach a child, whatever went in that teaching now controls the rest of the life of that child. And this is where it becomes so important for us to recognize we've been programmed. And that program is controlling our behavior, our genetics, our life experiences. The program comes from the mind. And I say, so why is it relevant? And the answer is profoundly simple. And the answer is this: change your mind and you change your biology. You change your genetics. You change your behavior and you can control this. But if you never knew that your mind was even involved, then where are you? Like Bill, I'm a victim of things. It just happened. And I go, no, it didn't just happen. We are powerful. And the problem that most people have is, well, what the hell were the programs? I say, that's where the problem comes from now, because most of the program, it started last trimester before you were born. You were still in utero when the programming started all the way up through age 7. So I say, so what program did you get when you were 0? I don't know. What program did you get when you were 1? I don't know. What program did you get when you were 2? I don't know. And so I'm going to help you right now, and then we'll get into the discussion. And the helping last part here is simply this: 95% of your life is coming from the program. Your life is a printout of your program. The things that you like that come into your life, they come in because you have programs to acknowledge them. And the most important point, the things that you want, wish for, desire, but you have to work hard, put a lot of effort, put, sweat over, I'm going to make this happen. Why you're working so hard? The answer is those things that you wish for and desire, you're not getting them, not because you can't have them. You're not getting them because that programming that you got in that first 7-year period doesn't acknowledge that. And then you're going to try to use the 5% conscious mind to take control and say, no, I want this. I go, yeah, but it's only working 5% of the time. 95% of the time, you're invisibly sabotaging yourself. And when you own this, know it, you can rewrite those programs. And if you rewrite those programs and put in the wishes and desires into your subconscious mind, then here's the beautiful part. 95% of the day, without you even thinking about it, you will be creating wishes and desires. Right now you're creating, but it may not be wishes and desires that you're experiencing. So the bottom line conclusion after all these slides is simply this: quantum physics is right. Consciousness is creating our life experience. Consciousness in the biological realm is controlling our genetics, epigenetics, and our behavior. So changing consciousness is what the mission statement is. And civilization is caught in the middle of what? Changing consciousness. Because the consciousness that we have been using, as well as on an individual level, but on a global level, has been essentially self-destructive. And now it's time for us to take our power back. Thank you for the opportunity to present those slides, Jane, Paul. I appreciate it. Now, let the grilling begin.
Just before Paul asks a few questions, we've got a couple of questions here. How do we change the programming, and how do we access more of our conscious to take control?
Okay. The movie The Matrix, I said, is not science fiction, it's documentary. And I said, everybody got programmed. And then they said, oh, there was a red pill and they got out of the program. I go, most everybody out there has taken that red pill at one point in their life, profoundly changed their whole life, but then it disappeared again. I go, what was it? And here it is. Science has recognized that falling in love is the equivalent of taking the red pill. I go, what do you mean? I go, your life could be blah, 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 blah. You meet somebody, and 24 hours later, oh, life is so beautiful. It's so heaven on earth. I'm so in love. The food is great. The music's great. Oh, everything is so wonderful. Even the crappy job is okay. I go, wait a minute. Your life was blah, 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 blah. And then in 24 hours, your life turned to heaven on earth? I go, it was always there. But what was different was this. 95% of your life, subconscious, 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 fall in love, you stop thinking, you stay present. It's called staying mindful. Instead of thinking, this person just came into your life. Why would you think? You'd be here now to enjoy. This person's in my life. And then you would be creating and enjoying and experiencing the aspirations, wishes, and desires. When two people fall in love, they're living with conscious minds. They've never even played the subconscious programs where all the crap is. And I go, that's why the honeymoon later ends. The honeymoon begins because you stop playing the programs. And I said, now what are you living off of? Conscious wishes and desires. I said, what did you manifest when you were living on conscious wishes and desires? Heaven on earth. And I go, then how come it doesn't last? I go, well, the reason you're experiencing is you're not thinking. But at some point you have a job, you have responsibilities, you have chores, you have things you got to do, and all of a sudden you start thinking. I go, then what happens? I say, the program that's coming out now is not you anymore. The program is your parent, your family. And I go, so why is it relevant? I said, when you fell in love, the two people never played those programs. They played wishes and desires and created heaven. But once they start thinking and the program comes out, they're like Bill. They just played a program from their family, but like Bill, they didn't see it, but the partner saw it. Oh, that's when the loving relationship starts to change with little arguments about what kind of behavior is that? Or who are you? Where did that come from? And like Bill, I didn't see it. Why? Because like Bill, if we are thinking, whatever's coming out is not observed by us. So the result is, guess what happens to the honeymoon? It was first created with two conscious minds' wishes and desires. But later, the subconscious mind kicks in. And that's got all the crappy programs. And that takes the beautiful edge off the honeymoon and turns it back into regular life again. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, it's regular life. I go, you could always have the honeymoon, just stay present. But that's very difficult. Okay. So, geez, I'm talking real long.
No,
but
it's great. Paul, do you have some questions?
Well, actually, let's follow on directly from that, Bruce. One of the tools that you mentioned, because this question is coming up a lot here from people, to reprogram this situation that we have, these patterns. You talk a lot about Psych-K. Would you recommend Psych-K as one of the main tools to reprogram yourself?
Psych-K is also is one of a number of what are called energy psychology modalities. There's a whole bunch of them. I use Psych-K because for me, that's the simplest, fastest, and easiest one to use for me. Changed my entire life. As you know, Paul, I wrote a book called The Honeymoon Effect. Here's a guy who couldn't have a good relationship. 40 years of my life trying to have a relationship, screwing it up all the time, until I started to recognize, wait, this invisible behavior is sabotaging me. And then I have my wonderful partner, Margaret. And I go, why is that important? Because she also knows about the invisible subconscious versus the conscious, where the wishes and desires are the subconscious. When something would come up in our relationship that obviously wasn't coming from the conscious mind, but was coming from the subconscious mind, she would go, Bruce, do you really mean that? Or, what you just said, did you understand? Did you hear what you just said? We have a discussion. if it was a conventional couple and I come up and said any of the stuff that I got programmed from my father, at a regular couple, my partner would look at me and go, what kind of behavior is that? And of course that leads to an argument and all kinds of stuff. And then the edge of the honeymoon disappears. But if you know that the behavior that wasn't supportive didn't come from the wishes and desires, spirit, conscious mind, but it came from a program. And all of a sudden it says, well, wait, let's change the program. And then by correcting the program, by changing the negative ones that come up, if you, every time a negative one would come up, we could change it, then guess what? There's a point where there are no more negative ones. And I go, then what? I go, then the honeymoon doesn't end. The honeymoon is the rest of your life because you didn't compromise it. I've been in a honeymoon with Margaret 22 years, wake up every day, just like in love from day one. It's a completely different life than I had for 40 years. I've been now 20 plus years with Margaret. And why? Because we each understood the nature of the program. And when it showed up, instead of shocking us, it was like, oh, did you know that you just played that? No, you didn't. Oh, you didn't hear what you really were saying. And that gives you an opportunity then to rewrite it. Energy psychology is one version of rewriting, okay? Very effective. Let me just very quickly say my website, simple, brucelipton.com. There are on there resources, 20 different energy psychology modalities that you could select from, the one that you think might be best. But then I'll just add, there are two other natural ways to change subconscious because this is the way it learned. One of them is hypnosis. And I go, do you have to see a hypnotherapist? I go, no, because the brain state of hypnosis is called theta. It's a brain vibration. When the person reads the brain by electrical readout, electroencephalograph, EEG, there's a vibration. Theta is below consciousness, but it's also record. It's theta record for subconscious. So I say, why is it relevant? Every night when you go to bed, consciousness, which is a higher vibration, at the moment you fall asleep, the vibration of the brain drops into theta, which is hypnosis. So if you put earphones on at night as you go to bed, you might hear one of those self-help programs, that things you want, health, wealth, relationship. You put that program on, you go to bed, while you're still awake, you might hear some of the recording, but the moment you fall asleep, guess what? The recording is still playing, but now it's going straight into the subconscious because that's where theta is. Okay, so that's the first way we learn programs. First 7 years, brain was in theta. Second way we learn programs is, look, after 7 years, you still learn programs. I say, how'd you learn something after you were age 7? I go, habituation, repeat, pattern, repeat something over and over again. You want to play an instrument? You got to practice and practice and practice. And boom, one day you play the instrument without practicing anymore. Now it's a program. Riding a bicycle, just like walking, practice, practice, practice. And once you got it down, you don't have to, it's now a program. So first way is hypnosis. Second natural thing is practice something and repeat it as an exercise. A sticky note on the refrigerator is not an exercise, it's a suggestion. An exercise is a repetitive pattern. The new agey story, which I always laugh at because it's kind of humorous, is it's called fake it till you make it. Meaning what? You're not a happy person. Every day you're not happy. I said, guess what? Repeat every day, I am happy, I am happy, I am happy. It's repetition, making a habit. It's how you learn to do anything after age 7. So I say, so all day long, whenever you can remember, you say, I am happy, I am happy. And then guess what? One day you wake up and you already started happy without even knowing why, because now it's a program and happiness is a way of life. So 3 ways to reprogram: A, hypnosis, self-hypnosis, earphones on at night. B, repetition, habituation, repeat something or create a behavior that's repetition that you want. The more you repeat it, the more likely then it becomes a program. And lastly, the easiest and fastest way, energy psychology, which is like a super learning thing. So you can download new behaviors in minutes. So those are the 3 ways of changing programs. I say, hey, what do you know what the program is? Look at your life. Your life is a printout of your program. The wonderful things that come, Don't worry about them. There's a program for that. The things you wish for and desire, but not manifesting, that's a negative program, and you can turn that around, make it a positive program. And then all of a sudden you start creating from wishes and desires, and a honeymoon is a way of life for as long as you live on the planet.